Welcome back to Crackerjack Games. It's time, again, to better know a commander. You might be thinking, how do we make this better? You bookend the episode with Swords and Cats and the Illusion of Choice. 4 great deck techs for you today. Kentaro, Faldorn, Hallar, and of course, the Seller of Secrets, Tivit. Smash that like, subscribe, comment, and let me know which of these 4 commanders is your favorite. Of course, those are the easiest ways to help the channel grow, and I appreciate all the support. Now, let's get to the deck techs.
Yeah, do you know how fast you were going? It's time to slow down and take a look at these cards. Right meow. After we talk about this deck, yeah, you're gonna be smiling. Let's talk about Kentaro, the smiling cat. Back in the day, this deck would have been all about using that Bushido ability and putting samurais into play. But meow, it's time for a bunch of cats and a bunch of swords. We're playing cats and swords. First, let's talk about the support pieces. We've got Oketra's Monument, make our cats cost less mana. They'll bring some humans along with them, but whatever. We're here for the cat reduction. We're also playing the cat god itself, God Eternal Oketra. This will bring us some 4/4 zombies along with our cats. That seems pretty good. We also need an Arden Intrepid Archaeologist. The equip cost for our cats is way too high, so let's make that free at combat. And let's tutor up our pieces that we need. We're playing Stoneforge Mystic. I'm sure at her heart, she loves cats too. Now let's talk about the kitties. We're playing Angelic Cub. Every time you target this thing with an equip ability, it gets +1/+1. That's once a turn, but hey, we'll take it. And the art is awesome. We're here to mess with our opponents too, because they're really not going to know what's going on. So we're playing Alms Collector. We got you an Uwu wife here too with Balan Wandering Knight. We have a cool finisher in Huntmaster Liger. It's part tiger, part lion, but it's all cat. We're going to need to protect our equipment, so we're playing Leonin Abunis as well. Equipping at instant speed seems awesome, so we've got Leonin Shikari. How about we play an equipment cat in Lion Sash? A little bit of graveyard hate, and it can attack, or you can equip it and attack and get real big. We've got a way to draw lands out of our deck that isn't land tax with the Rescos Explorer. We have an anthem for our cats, Regal Caracal. Brings a couple cats with it. This card's super powerful and did tons of work back in Amonkhet Standard. And we have a bit more graveyard hate with Watchers of the Dead. Yeah, as you put your cats onto the battlefield, you need something for them to play with. So we're playing things like Sword of Feast and Famine, Sword of Fire and Ice, Sword of Hearth and Home, and Sword of the Animist. We want our cats to be all nimbly bimbly. We want them jumping tree to tree, and we want them drinking milk from a saucer. And if we do all those things right, we'll probably even just win the game. Hope this helps. Meow. Do you want a commander deck that'll make you howl at the moon? Oh! Well, too bad. We're building a deck that at best is going to howl at all the cars that drive by your house. We're talking Faldorn, Dreadwolf Herald. I've tried my darndest to not include any werewolves in this deck at all. Besides my least favorite card, Reliquary Tower, the day-night mechanic and flipping cards over is what I just dislike the most playing Magic. That being said, this deck is full of wolves and we're going to have a great time. We're in red and green, we get to exile cards, we get to play exiled cards, we get to make wolves. Should be great. We're going to have 3 non-wolf creatures in the deck. Mina Den Wildborn is one of them. I want to be able to play extra lands each turn, and I want to be able to play my lands from exile, so having this available to us is really nice. We're also going to play Scapeshift, and we're going to try and make as many of our lands have the keyword mountain on them. Because eventually we might just need to Scapeshift into Valakut and a bunch of mountains, and burn out the rest of the table to finish the game off. Now, let's get into the wolf plan. We've got Nightpack Ambusher. This will buff our team. We've got Hollowhenge Overlord. You can flash this in on an end step, and then you can create a bunch of wolves and double up your tokens. The request was for Avabra Caretaker, so we're including that as well. Unfortunately, that will bring the day-night mechanic into the deck, so hopefully you win the game very quickly after playing this card. We're going to play Pyreheart Wolf to give our wolves Pseudo-Menace. And we're going to play Howling Moon. This is going to punish our opponents for playing lots of spells. Oh, I lied. We're going to have 4 non-wolf creatures in the deck. We have to play Master of the Wild Hunt. It makes wolves. We can tap it to do damage. Treat yourself to a 7th edition foil coat of arms. That way you can style on your opponents as you run them over and give them rabies. We're going to be playing lots of forests, obviously, so Howl of the Night Pack seems like a good way to get a ton of tokens on the battlefield. Now, there's 3 cards I think that are really powerful in this deck because we want to be playing things from exile. So we've got Valakut Exploration, we've got Vance's Blasting Cannons, and then we have the OG version of this, Outpost Siege. Exiling cards off the top of our deck before we play them just means we get more tokens, and that's really where we want to be. Speaking of tokens, how about we play Parallel Lives? Why not? Also, our wolves are going to start coming in as 4/4s because we're going to play Tribute to the World Tree. Now, as far as card draw goes, I think playing a few versions of things like Ren's Resolve, where you exile cards from the top of your library, is a really good idea. That's just going to give your new spells make a wolf. Another really good example of that is Escape to the Wilds. And an even better version of that is one of our big splashy commander spells, Apex of Power. Now, you will need a Lightning Bolt because if all we're doing is putting things into exile first before we play them, Drannith Magistrate is going to be your absolute nightmare. So make sure you can do 3 damage to it when it comes out. No one gets to recommend Sword of Body and Mind, so I'm going to here. Equip it, go to combat, deal some damage, mill someone, which is the fun part, and make yourself a wolf along the way. Alright, and our last 2 non-wolf creatures in the deck are going to be Atali Primal Conqueror, so we can cast spells from exile, and Atali Primal Storm, so we can cast spells from exile. So officially, you won't be howling at the moon, but your deck will be a howling good time. Hope this helps. Come along with me as we build that red-green commander deck you've been dreaming about. It's time to kick it with Hallar the Fire Fletcher. This card was such a heater in the draft for Dominaria. Kicker was the mechanic that went through all the colors in that set. And being that everything in Magic is Kicker, playing cards that specifically say Kicker shouldn't be a problem, right? And the reach we have, just by getting counters on Hallar, should make this worthwhile. So here we go. So unfortunately, playing Kicker means we need to get a lot of mana. So we need a lot of lands out on the battlefield so we can spend it over and over again. That means we're playing Azusa, Lost But Seeking, and the land count in this deck is probably 40 or 41 lands. But trust me, it's worth it. So, we got Cultivate, we've got Nature's Lore, we've got 3 Visits, and any other version of these cards that you think is necessary. Get those lands on the battlefield and prepare for some awesome times. Now, I wish we could just pump Hallar, but we can't. We actually have to get counters onto her. So we're going to play some kicker spells that have low kicker costs, or alternate kicker costs. We have a tiny board wipe in Cinderclasm, and we have a Kicker 2 spell in Canopy Surge to get rid of a couple of problematic flyers. That's really on flavor for Hallar. Multi-kicker works here too, so we're going to play Everflowing Chalice. Alternate kicker costs are good, so we're playing Falling Timber. It has kicker, sacrifice a land. We're going to have lots of land, so this will be fine. We can prevent the damage from 1 or 2 creatures. We've got a cool little Alpha Strike here with Goblin Bushwhacker. Just 2 mana, but we're also getting that counter and that burn damage from Hallar. We're also going to play Goblin Ruin Blaster. A little bit of non-basic land destruction is okay, right? Now this card, Grow from the Ashes, was the thing that stirred the drink during draft time. If you could pick this up, you legitimately could play 5-color Kicker. We don't need to play 5-color Kicker, but we are going to get a bunch of basic lands, and they're coming onto the battlefield. And we're doing some damage to our opponents. We have Inscription of Abundance, and obviously we need Overload to take care of some artifacts. And then we've got Shivan Lizard as a nice little way to get some counters on Hallar. You can't play red deck without a dragon, so how about Varric's Bladewing? It has kicker. We're adding in Yavimaya Iconoclast. Not exactly the most powerful creature, but this ends up being a 3-mana 4/3 with haste. And that might just punch in to get you back like the Monarchy or something, because that should be in the game. All right, so kicker, lands, awesome stuff. But here is the dream scenario, and we're going to try and finish the game with it. And it's super obnoxious and probably not all that good, but hey, why not? We're going to play Banefire, and then we're going to fork it, and we're going to reiterate it, and we're going to burn out the table once the game gets to the point where that's necessary. Not a kicker finish by any means, but super funny. And the Banefire is uncounterable, so you point it at one of the people, and hopefully the other people don't want to use Counterspell on it. So there you go. Hallar, the Fire Fletcher, finishing with Banefire, running lands, using kicker, Seems like a good time. Hope this helps. You know what really grinds my gears? The illusion of choice. And that's never more prevalent than here with this deck. We're talking Tivit, Seller of Secrets. The Sphinx Rogue has flying in Ward 3 and presents Council's Dilemma. Starting with you, each player votes evidence or bribery. Then you get that many clues or treasure tokens, and you get to vote an additional time. That means this thing makes 5 artifacts just for entering the battlefield, and then again every time it deals combat damage to a player. Oh, and did I mention the Ward 3? It's just they're taunting us, like we're gonna choose to spend the extra mana. Swords to Plowshares looks a lot worse when it costs 4 mana. But don't ever question yourself, you need to get rid of Tivit. Now, it turns out this is like one of the top 2 or 3 or 4 competitive EDH decks out there. And it's mostly because there's a 1-card combo. That and you get to play a ton of great cards to protect and control the table. Enter Time Sieve. Notice, tap, sacrifice 5 artifacts, take an extra turn. I wonder where we're gonna get 5 extra artifacts. The Council's Dilemma. The illusion of choice. If you like control and you want to try competitive EDH, this is a great deck to go for. We're going to go and try and power it down a little bit though, so maybe your friends get to at least have some fun against you. Huh? So with that in mind, we're going to add cards like Thassa Deep Dwelling. You get to blink Tivit on your end step. We're also going to play Thassa God of the Sea. You can pay 1 in a blue and make Tivit unblockable. That means you get to present the Council's Dilemma again. If we're playing both Thassas, we might as well play the Bident of Thassa. Whenever you deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. And let's get some more blink shenanigans in there. Displacer Kitten. Cast non-creature spells, make some more treasures. Or clues. We've got Ephemerate. We've got Cloud Shift. Hey, why not pair up Tivit with Deadeye Navigator? That seems really good. We're also just going to slam a Marionette Master in there so that we can start draining our opponents whenever an artifact we have goes to the graveyard. Someone's losing 5 life a turn like clockwork. Since we're making tons of treasures, why not play Cyberdrive Awakener? The blue Craterhoof Behemoth just keeps going in deck after deck after deck. Present the Council's Dilemma a ton of times, and then cast this to turn all of them into 4/4s. You can play this nice little uncommon from Kaladesh, Contraband Kingpin. Every time you get to vote, you're going to get 5 instances of Scry 1. And just for funsies, let's add in Flicker of Fate and Sword of Hearth and Home. Blink Tivit, get some basics. Great stuff. Now, Esper definitely has a tough time ramping, except for all the treasures you're going to be making. But we can play Inspiring Statuary, which makes all of our non-artifact spells have Improvise, which means we can use our artifacts to tap and pay the colorless parts of our spells. That's going to be real good. Touch the Spirit Realm can potentially serve double duty in this deck. Yeah, we can remove something, or we can channel it to blink something. Oh, maybe Tivit? How about Tivit? And you know, in a deck where our commander is a big part of the theme, we might as well add some backgrounds. So we've got Candlekeep Sage. This thing's going to draw us cards. We've got Far Traveler. This thing's going to have Exiling. And we've got Ancient of the Iron Throne. This turns Tivit himself into a payoff. Now, if you really want to go hardcore and get into CDH, this is a great deck to start, especially if you like control. That means tons of counter spells. That means counterbalance. That means Smothering Tithe. That means all the black tutors. This deck is awesome. Oh, and you win with commander damage usually, so that's a really cool finish. So there you go, Tivit, Seller of Secrets. Hope this helps.